So another thing that we still need to do, and it is basically one of the final touch-ups that we still need to do, is to connect the present database, that is in this example is the insurance detail database, to personal financial database. By that I mean, like, we have to create a relationship between personal financial database and insurance details database. So again, in the backflow, we need to create another trigger event. So to do that, you have to click on here, and similar to the previous how we did the search, we can go ahead and click on new database trigger event, and it brings up this pop-up. So let's go ahead and rename this. So I'm going to type in update personal financial on created insurance details. So this is our event name. It basically means that you want to update the personal financial with the insurance detail, which is basically like a relational database, which I'll show you in a minute once we have done this, so that it makes proper sense to you guys. Okay, so for the type, we want to put in the database itself, like how we created the insurance database with different fields. So we are going to pull in this, and we want to change the color. This is optional, but for the trigger, it works best. So for the workflow folder, do you remember we created this hook, this insurance detail hook? So that's what we are going to be using. So I'm going to go back to this insurance detail trigger event. So I'm going to pull in that. It's right over here. So now you would want to put in a conditional statement, and the conditional statement is insurance detail before change is empty. So before the change could happen, it is obviously empty, right? So that is what it is. And now you want to add a certain set of actions to it, otherwise it's not going to do anything. So now I'm going to click here, and I'm going to add an action. So I'm going to go over to data, because it is going to change a certain data. Like I said earlier, it's going to combine both the insurance database and the personal database and make it like a relational database. So I'm going to go over to data and make changes to a thing. So this is what comes up. You want to click over here, and you want to do a search for personal financial right here. It's right there, and we want to put in the first item itself. So every time you keep adding a particular set of information here, personal financial keeps getting updated with the insurance docs or the insurance details that you keep adding right here. And we also want to add in the current user. If you don't add in the current user, all this data will be stored in another data, or a random user for that matter. And for that, we want to click on search for professional finance. This dialog box opens, so you can go ahead and click on this and click on user equivalent to the current user. So basically what user equal to current user means when it comes to search for financial personal finance first item is, it basically means that if Hulk uploads a particular set of information, let's take the example as Jane. So Hulk posts the information of Jane's detail, like policy number, amount insured, issue date, maturity date, and all of the other fields. It basically gets stored in insurance details database, right? And it also has to get stored in the personal financial database, but it has to get stored in the Hulk's ID. And we still need to we have to change another field. We have to include insurance details. We have to add and insurance details now. So basically what this means is that once the user, well, in this case it's Hulk, once Hulk has uploaded a certain set of information, it will get reflected in the insurance detail database as well as the first item in the personal financial database also. So now let's go ahead and refresh this page and we shall see how it actually takes place and how it actually operates. So now our page is nice and refreshed. So let's go ahead and add in a set of information to see how this workflow actually works and what I actually mean by it. So let's go ahead and click here. So I'm going to add in a set of information, random information. So yeah, I'm going to put today's date. The maturity value would be today's date actually. Okay, so that would be 1 year and 8, and this would be, let's go ahead and put in SBI policy. So I'm going to click on create. So insurance details saved. It's really cool, SBI. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and test the search bar again. So I put in Zach, hit enter, only Zach is there, which is cool. And now I remove Zach's name from the search bar and everything is back right up again. So now what we have to test is that since we added Zach to the insurance detail, so let's go ahead and take a look at the database. So I'm going to go over to insurance detail database first. So as you can see, all of our fields are right here and it's really cool. Let's go ahead and refresh, and we have 4 data, as you can see: Zach, Jane, Nelly, Mary, and Jane. So Zach, Jane, Nelly, and Mary, and Jane. So going over to our data types and into our personal financial data types, we have created a relation between personal financial and the database itself. So it's like a relational database. Whatever information is here, we take the first item of insurance details, as you can see here. So that is what it does. It takes the first item. The first item can be anything. So I'm going to go over to personal financial database. I'm going to refresh it, and it has mentioned here Zach. Let's go ahead to primary fields. Here I have mentioned it as name, but it can be anything. If you want it to be remarks, that is the type of policy, you can do that as well. But to be simple and straightforward, I put it as name. So that is why Zach's name is right here. Otherwise, previously, if you remember, we have also put in Nelly and Jane right here. Nelly and Jane. This was before we created the backend workflow. So that is basically how this works, which is really cool and straightforward and looks really good as well. So I hope you learned something from this video, and I will see you in the next one.